Big day today.
This is very excited. This will be the first time that the engine and the rear end and all the other accoutrements get to see the 65 Mustang. Admittedly, other than the rear end and the tires going on the car, the engine will go in just for a temporary fitting to make sure we know where the motor mounts have got to go. We're going to take a look at the drive shaft cover as well and figure out where the shifter is going to come at. Very important because we got to make sure the shifter comes in at the appropriate place, given that the 65 Mustang is significantly different than a 2020 Mustang. So we need that shifter to come in, that it's in a comfortable location in the 65, and that the console will fit. So a lot of challenges there, but very excited.
Oh yes, and I know we're kind of a little bit behind on where we originally thought when we were going to get to do this. Due to some scheduling conflicts, but hopefully all that's resolved now and we can get moving forward with the program here. But again, thank you for joining us today. Another beautiful day, and we'll show you the car whenever we get over there.
Hey, good morning. So we're here at Mike Burnett's shop, Ardmore, I guess,
Yes.
in Ardmore, Alabama. And exciting day. This is the day that we bring over the Coyote 3 engine. Its first time meeting its future mate, which is the 65 Mustang Fastback. Mike has been working very hard over the last several months now to restore the body, and we are now at that point where we're ready to do a fit check of the engine. As well as you see here, we've got the rear end already built up, brought that over as well, so Mike will fit that. That goes with a 4-link suspension system in the back. Mike, if you would, say hello and then talk a little bit about, because that's, I guess, the first thing you're going to do is put the rear end in?
Yes, I put the rear end up there, get my 4-link brackets mounted. The 4-link bars, you gotta cut them, of course.
Yeah.
And then put the ends on, weld them, get it all centered up in the car. Put our coilovers and all. Then we'll put all of our front suspension on, sling that bad boy in there, and.
So I know that you had to do a lot of work originally from what the car was to what the car is now. So can you give us like kind of the highlights of some of the major issues that you found and the things you had to replace and things like that?
Yes, the car was rear-ended at one time, bad.
Yes.
So we had to replace rear quarters, the whole tail panel, trunk floor, rear cross member, just everything in the back end. There was nothing left of the back of the car. It was bare.
And then Mike, tell them as well. So not only did you restore it back to original, but added some additional flair to the car.
Added a Shelby wing trunk lid, and corner sections.
And I know we were talking about putting the Mach 1 scoop on the front that has the blinkers and...
Yes, yes.
On the hood.
Yes, it'll be the Shelby style front end, no bumper. We put in a Mustang 2 front suspension, got rid of the shock towers, moved the firewall back. Just tons of work already done. Just so we can fit that monster in here.
And then, so what you have left up here is to figure out the location for the engine mount and then potentially the steering
the rack and
location as
pinion.
well.
We're gonna try using the electric steering rack and pinion. If we can't, we could say we at least tried.
Yeah, that's right. That'll be the first time. I've never seen anybody in all of the videos that I've looked at and all the reading that I've done. I haven't seen anybody successfully use that. And maybe we'll discover the reason why people have not successfully done that.
I have seen one of these with a Ferrari engine in it.
Oh.
Whether or not it's got the
rack and pinion.
The electric power steering, I don't know. It probably does, seeing that they put a Ferrari engine in it.
Yeah. Wow.
And we'll definitely have to leave it a surprise what color the car ends up being. So
Yes.
just leave your guesses in the comments. But I think we got to finish up here, and then we're going to go take some measurements and look at the 2020 for some potential more parts to use off of it. But I think that's pretty well it for dropping off today.
Yep. A good day.
Yes.
All right. Mike, thank you very much.
Yes,
Really appreciate it.
absolutely.
All right. Let's get back to work.
So a few days later, I know we had, this video went and showed dropping off the engine, transmission, rear end, and the power steering to the body shop, Mike, and we sort of cut it off there and had a couple other little projects. But we're going to continue it here with our project for tonight, which is to pull the dashboard out of this car for Mike. So that way, you know, I know it's a big project, but we're going to try to methodically and thoughtfully pull each component out and try to salvage as much of the interior of this car as possible to transplant into the other car. So that means hopefully we'll have, you know, radio that works, all the dash components will work, you know, as much as we possibly can. So I'll show you a quick little segment here, but so also a part of this will probably be to pull the brake master cylinder and booster out. I don't know if that's going to work in the other car because it's very tight quarters, but we're going to try. As well as pulling the dashboard out. And then there was some mention of possibly needing to remove the tunnel from this car to transplant in the other car, mostly because of the mounting hardware for the shifter for the transmission is on the bottom side of the tunnel under there. And it would just be easier to reuse what Ford already engineered rather than to try to come up with something off the cuff. But also, you know, you can see a lot of the bracketry and hardware for the console, which we also want to retain. So, you know, there's always a give and take about how much of it, you know, do we want to save? And the answer is as much as possible. So, you know, we'll try to salvage that. Like I said, we want to have as much of functionality out of this car as possible in the 65. So we appreciate you coming along. We're going to throw this on a time lapse and start pulling this dash out. Something kind of neat to show here, the doors, when you pull the rubber grommets off on the inside, got two convenient connectors right there, so you can just unplug it and then I guess just put these back in here so that they don't get wet. And then I took the bolts, one out of the bottom right there, one out of the top here. So in theory, this should just lift off. So we'll see how that goes. Wow, holy crap. That door is heavier than it looks, but we got it off. So now should be able to access these much easier, obviously. Probably gonna go ahead and repeat the process on the other side just to make this whole thing go hopefully smoother now that I know how it comes apart. All right, so pull the other door off. Pretty self-explanatory. Just pop the cover off, pull these two plugs out, pull the bolt out of the bottom of this, out of the top of this, and then you pull your limiter out right here. Pick it up, struggle to get it over there past the car over here that you don't want to scratch, and put it over there in the stack of Mustang parts. So now I'm gonna do some looking and seeing, thinking, and try to do the noodle dance to figure out how to get this out. So we'll show you that quick, fast, and in a hurry. Okay, so not 100% sure exactly what needs to come out to make this happen, so we're just gonna, see what it takes. So far, I cut the two out of the front, got the two on this side, two on the outside to go here. I am assuming we'll pull these out. I'm sure there's a matching pair on the other side. Got the two bolts out of the center, and we'll see what that gets us, I guess. So hang on one second. Let's get you in position here. How about that? Can you see good? Good deal. All right. So let's see, what might that be? Let's try a 15. Nope. Probably a 13, but I'm gonna try 14. Okay, I was wrong, 14. Let's see, extension, because that's a little short. Save those and their washers. Let's see. Like I said, I assume that there's going to be a matching set on the passenger side. Come here. There you go. How about right there? All right. All right, let's go get something to gently remove that. I say gently, as gently as possible. Flat device of some kind. Get out of there. Perfect. Like a surgeon. All right, I need a light. Let's see what we got in here. If there's what we're looking for, if it was completely useless. All right. Here, see? Okay, well, don't really see much going on in there. Huh. Sorta. Kinda. Still very firmly attached. Did we miss something out here? Let's see, doesn't look like it, but that doesn't really mean anything. Maybe there's something behind this. Oh, okay. Where are you, little buddy? Come on out now. It's not coming on out now. Let's just do a little pry and a little wiggle and just see what, what moves, what doesn't move. You know what I mean? Good, glad we're on the same page. Just curious, does anything wiggle? Wiggle test. We failed the wiggle test. Well, let me mull on this for a minute. I'll come back when I have an answer. All right, so we found these two bolts on the side right here. I don't know if you can see that, but kind of underneath the radio assembly there on both sides. And then there was one small like washer bolt that was holding the like under the glove box. I think, according to the wiggle test, it looks like it might be about ready to come out. So we're gonna throw this on a time lapse, try to get this out, and we'll come back with you when we got something to show. All right, success. So we pulled the dashboard out, as you can see here. Pretty straightforward, pretty self-contained unit for the most part. Just a handful of, whoops, sorry. So we pulled the dashboard out here. Pretty self-contained unit, just a handful of plugs on either side and one sort of in the middle. And then the steering column, collapsible steering column there, just disconnected I want to say hub, but it's not really a hub, just where it goes to the firewall, like a big grommet essentially. And then a couple of plugs over here. So, like I said, pretty straightforward. Comes out as a nice single unit. Kind of go take a look at what was left inside the car after that. It's mostly going to be like the air conditioning controls, or not controls, but the actual unit itself. So our desire would be to reuse that. Not sure exactly the feasibility yet, but we'll just have to kind of see how it goes. So I think we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with you here in just a few minutes. All right, so we got some updates. Got the brake master cylinder out, along with the brake pedal and clutch pedal assembly. I'll show that, and the throttle pedal, because fly-by-wire. So it's all one kind of plastic, aluminum assembly.
Go here.
Probably. So we've been trying to make sure we label, you know, everything as comes apart as best as our ability is anyway. A second bag for that.
Put it inside this bag.
But so yeah, pretty straightforward. Not very tough to do. I think we might pull the carpet back and see. Definitely gonna have to label some of this wiring so we know how it goes back together, but pretty straightforward stuff. Any comments, sir?
No, because I was up on the roof fixing a roof leak, so I missed most of your action down here. I apologize. But you indicated the doors, just one bolt?
Yep, they just, well, after you unplug the power to them, they just pick up, and this one scared me because I didn't expect it to come off that easy. So that was,
That's always a plus.
yep, so the other side was a little easier for whatever reason.
And then pretty much the bolts here in the side?
Yeah, so it was 2 bolts on the side on each side, 2 bolts in the middle for the radio, under the radio on both sides, 2 bolts in the front firewall,
From the front side, outside?
Right.
You had to take those out. Yeah.
and then the 2 on the inside here.
Over here?
Yep, and then unplugging everything, and it pretty much slid right out.
Didn't you say this is like an alignment dowel?
Yeah, there's like we can show, but take a look at this, and then we'll walk over here. There's like a part of the bracketry has this like alignment rod that will, you know, slide into that hole over there, and then it has a hole below it for a bolt to go into. I assume that's how they start putting it in.
And then it sort of sits down on a couple of holders, right?
Yeah, on the if you look here down below the radio,
Yeah.
it sort of sits down onto that like a leg, and then it didn't have any bolts on the inside on the passenger side, so I assume it mostly relies on the side bolts from the outside, and then this driver's side in the middle, and then these 2 right here, as you can see where they go on the back. So it really looks like, as far as the 65 goes, cut everything out, and we'll just have to put 2 holes in the front wherever this ends up at, 2 holes on the sides, and then the tunnel. So not a lot to it, really. And I know we talked about having to trim. We might be able to get away with trimming some of this edge.
Well, the radius on a Mustang comes almost like this. So it's going to be a pretty radical cut across here to trim. Or you might want to take this piece off
Fit it, and then,
and then fit it, and then replace it back. So the issue there is that's your defrost, right? So all your vents for defrost are there. So we're going to have to think through that a little bit and see if there's another way to make that happen.
but I'm pretty pleased with how it came apart, though.
And then the steering as well.
I sort of wonder, as long as it's a pretty straight shot on the rack, we might be able to reuse that along with the other end,
Yep.
and it'll just be shorter than what it was on the other car.
Well, the good thing is most of the time they are collapsible to a certain degree. Yeah.
Yep, it is.
That's a collapsible section. Now, it's meant to collapse in an accident, so it might take a little force, but if you can just collapse it, you know, about 2 inches here and maybe 2 inches on the other rod, you might be able to make it. If not, we're just gonna have to disassemble it and probably cut them and make them shorter.
Which, even if we had to go with some different route, I'm sure that it's not that big of a deal to have like even on this car. So like, I'll have to make from the rack to the steering shaft there with U-joints, you know, sort of make something. So I'm sure if we can do it there, we can make it work on this.
That's pretty standard fare, and you're modifying a car pretty extensively, you might as well. That and brake pedals, and well, in this case, it's fly-by-wire.
Yeah, so throttle can be anywhere. So yeah, I think that's pretty solid pretty solid afternoon of progress right there, I think.
The other thing we've got to look at is this dash with the end pieces on it is just a little bit wider than a 65. So we are going to have to analyze a little bit to figure out how we're going to bring this in ever so slightly. I think we'd have to take off about 3/8 of an inch on either side. So that will require us a little engineering on our part. I think we'll be able to figure it out.
I think so too. Well, I will say this also, I don't know if this matters, but when I took the bolts out of the sides, it did sort of sink in a little bit. So maybe,
And maybe it pulls it
yeah,
out.
maybe it pulls it out. So maybe when we put it in there, it might fit better than we thought.
Maybe it's like a little bit of an accordion effect to it, and we might be able to compress and get a quarter of an inch out of either side. Might be stressing something, but you never know. Yeah. Seems to be a lot to work with over on this side. So even if you had to trim it right here, you could put an end cap over that, I would imagine.
Or Les probably could make us something on the sides if we really had to have him do it. Which we didn't film that, but we dropped off the Impala seats for our upholstery guy, Les. Very talented individual when it comes to interiors. We'll have to show that when we go back to pick it up. Man, he's got some awesome projects going on over there.
I think he said one of the cars, there's been around $450,000 spent on one of the cars so far.
Yeah, he has, I think he said it was an 84 Pontiac Grand Prix VIN number 1 that Holley Performance owns, and they've extensively modified that car, and they contracted with him to do a custom interior for it. I know he had mentioned it was widened 4 inches and lengthened 4 inches, so pretty awesome feat of engineering there to make it look right.
Hopefully when I get ahead of Holly here, we might have to delete this.
Oh no, they'll be all right.
But yeah, we should go over and video and give him a little props
Oh, absolutely.
as well.
But yeah, I think we're gonna probably take a break here for a minute and see if we're gonna continue or if we're gonna call it a night. But we'll get back with you.
All right, so we're wrapping up this evening. As you can see, we pretty much stripped the interior down to the bare bones. Pretty straightforward. After the dash came out of it, it left the heater core, the evaporator, or the evaporator section. So the HV section was left bolted up to the dash. Removed a retaining plate off the front of that. Did you take any bolts on your side? I didn't take any more bolts on my side.
I don't think so. I think it was just, well, there were 2 over there, but
Yeah.
it was really just everything on the outside of the car.
Yep, so everything that we'd removed from the engine compartment side had it ready to go, and we were able to pop it out. At that point, we just rolled the carpet up. There was a couple of the plastic plugs that held the carpet in place, and pretty easily pulled the carpet out. We also pulled the insulation on the firewall out, so as you can see, pretty much stripped down. Our next big activity, we're going to go back over to the car in the morning and measure the transmission tunnel. The transmission tunnel in the 2020, much higher and much squarer than is in a 65 Fastback. The other thing that we wanted to retain is just the placement of the gear shift, all of the attachments that come through. So by cutting out the transmission tunnel, we get to retain all of that. In fact, underneath, and you've got your where your emergency brakes mount. That bracketry is underneath, so we should be able to take all of that into the 65. Of course, we'll cut the transmission tunnel out of it and graft this into the floor of the 65 Mustang.
So show about, we were talking about from where to where is where you want to cut to start with.
Yeah, so my estimation is that we come up against the firewall, because again, this is a different shape than what you have in a 65 Mustang at the front of the transmission cover. The good thing is generally both cars have got a pretty much a flat firewall. There's a little bit more structure in here than I thought before, but we'll have to review that and see how to deal with that. But pretty much right where it meets the floor. Again, where the seat mounts, a little bit higher structure in a 65 Mustang than there is in a 2020. And then we're going to move all the way to the back, basically. Take more as opposed to less. And then when we go over, if we've got to trim it some more, we can certainly do that. But my vision is that we should be able to take this, set it down on top of the current transmission tunnel, scribe all the way around it, take this back out, and you get generally a good reference for where we need to cut the transmission tunnel out of the 65.
And if it wasn't for all the bolting points and the emergency brake, we probably wouldn't go this route. But it's just so much easier to go ahead and use what Ford's already engineered than to try to re-engineer the whole thing.
The other thing is we'll get reference points and figure out where to mount the hardware that's necessary to hold the dash back in. So that'd be a lot more measuring is going to go on tomorrow before we make our initial cut and figure out where we're going to start cutting and then what we need to transplant and where it needs to go. Again, it looks very closely. We're going to have to pull some tape measures on it again. But I think we're within about an inch of the width of a 65 Mustang. So pretty neat, pretty excited. So far, I don't see any showstoppers. The big thing I worry about is, of course, the curvature of the dash in the 2020. But we'll see. We'll keep working on it. Andrea, what do you think?
I think that's pretty well about everything we're going to do tonight. I think we'll come back whenever we get ready to cut the tunnel out and label all these pieces of the wiring harness. That way we know where it all goes. But outside of that, it looks pretty good. Looks
pretty straightforward. I mean, it comes out of the fuse box. It looks like it runs down the passenger side, back up into the rear passenger seats across for the fuel boost pump in the fuel cell, and then back down the driver's side and comes up there under the left kick panel on the driver's side. So kind of a U shape. The other thing we've got to figure out is where do the rear lights plug in as well, because it's our intent to carry this wiring harness into the 65 Mustang, or as much of it as we possibly can. So again, fun stuff. Making progress.
Yes. So we got a side quest for our day today. So tell us about what you got and what we got going on here.
Yeah, always a distraction on the farm or some other project that we've long wanted to get to, and slowly we're getting to some of these projects. So way off in the woods, many years ago, I stuck a couple of drink machines. These came from my wife's, one of her cousins was a Coca-Cola distributor, and had these two old machines out in the field. Announced to the family, hey, anybody want these things? I'm going to throw them away or scrap them. And I just hate to see any kind of old machinery getting scrapped. And so spoke up for them, snagged them, and we've been carrying them around now for 25 years or so. Didn't have any place to put them, so I stuck them down here when we moved to this farm 24 years ago, and put them up on some blocks to hopefully try to keep the bottom from rusting out. And so now we've got a little bit of room in one of the workshops, so we're going to take them over there, at least get them out of the weather, and consider how to move forward to maybe refurbishing.
I've never seen
machines.
a Dr. Pepper machine like that before.
Yeah, isn't that unusual?
It looks like somebody tried to get into it at one point.
Yeah, it's the worse for wear. Obviously, that's probably why it was taken out of service, because somebody got a hold of it with a pry bar. This one, as I recall, used to have, so again, they would be bottles back in the day. You'd put your money in, you could open up the door, and once your money went through it, release, so you could make one pull and pull a drink out. And then, of course, you'd come down. This would be where you'd pop the cap off. So I don't remember what used to be right there. I can't remember if that was a retainer to hold all the caps. No, it doesn't appear to be. This is where your change would return there. This is where your change would go in. And if you
Any idea as to what year these are?
I would imagine these are probably
Like 60s maybe?
60s or 70s time frame, if I recall. Because in the 70s, I would say this is probably 60s, because in the 70s, I remember the machines that were coming out then, more modern, more square. This has still got the round corners of it.
And like the Dr. Pepper one there with it's like under the Dr. Pepper logo with almost like the space age, like aluminum trim and
could
stuff.
have been the 50s.
Oh, okay. I don't
Kinda
know what
floats
that
around.
does.
I think that used to light up.
Oh, all
I
right.
think this used to light up in the day.
I think it'd be kind of cool to get these things at least, you know, where they can keep drinks cold and maybe light up right and maybe have them painted.
It'd be nice even if it wasn't a Coca-Cola that you reach over here. You got a Miller High Life or a Budweiser out of that. So, no telling. Yeah, a little worse for wear.
But
Definitely.
I think we should be able to get, oh, we got some visitors.
Yep.
But we should be able to get them out. We got the skid steer down here with the, and a trailer with the truck. So I think we're gonna try to gently put them on the trailer. So probably video that and you'll see that here in a minute and wish us luck.
Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap up tonight. Again, thank you for watching Pride Hope Garage. Please come back, check with us again as we make additional progress in the retro mod of a 65 Mustang Fastback, pulling the interior out of a 2020 Mustang GT. Thank you for watching.